Fuck that shit. Okay, we're live. Yeah, here we are. Metal Connection, Rock. Oh, actually, I forgot my intro there for a second, but here we are. We're doing a Disturbed ranking. We got the gang here with us here. We got Clint, Wyatt, Barry, and Ryan. I don't know if you guys want to say hello.
Yo.
What up, everyone?
Cool. But yeah, we'll kind of we'll meet everyone here as we kind of go along and talk and whatnot. But I guess kind of a good thing that I was going to start out with before we get right into a Disturbed ranking and kind of get going is one thing that I was going to say is that with Disturbed for me is David Draymond is he's not replaceable. Like if the band came out and saying, oh, we're replacing him, that would not work for me. Like David Draymond is not replaceable in this band.
No, of course not.
I don't know what anyone else would feel on that. Like,
no, he's absolutely not. No,
yeah, hell no.
It would be like the same problem Drowning Pool has after Dave Williams died. You just can't.
It's like Warner James Dio too.
Hey, there he is.
Yeah, but like, oh, we just started here, Dave. Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, we kind of just started here. We haven't even ranked anything. I'm just saying before I get into it is, as I was kind of just thinking about Disturbed, I was like, the key part of Disturbed is David Draymond for me, the singer. You could not replace him in this band. Like he is crucial to this band. Could not replace him for me. That's kind of what makes this band for me is David Draymond. Yeah, so David Draymond for me would be irreplaceable. I don't know how you guys felt about that, but yeah, there's that. And like even the first time I ever got into Disturbed, how I first got into Disturbed was I was watching Much Loud. This was like right as the first album was getting released, and David Draymond was the special guest host for Much Loud. I'd never heard or seen them in my life. You know, he has he has the lip ring, right, and all these kind of things, right? Looks a little different, and back then nu metal was quite the hot happening thing. But anyway, so Stupefy comes on. Never heard of it in my life. First time I ever see it, just Stupefy kind of just comes on. Gets released as a single to the world, and I see it, and instant fan, right? I was a fan of heavy metal just in general, nu metal, all that kind of stuff. So instant fan, Stupefy. Had never heard anything like that. You know, David Draymond was kind of doing a different thing than what Jonathan Davis was doing. You know, it was kind of a different thing, and it was just totally different. Yeah, David Draymond and Disturbed was just totally different, unique, and that's how I first became aware of Disturbed and instant fan basically, and that was probably right around 2000 when Sickness was just getting released. So I was a fan right from the jump, and kind of just by watching Much Loud. And Dave, you'd probably familiar with Much Loud in Canada. I know you're Canadian, so.
Oh yeah, used to watch our show all the time.
Yeah, so that was a weird one. So I don't know if anyone else has any. I don't know if anyone else has any stories.
With that show, what is it?
Sorry.
That show.
Oh, it was just like USA had MTV. And in Canada had our version of MTV was called Much Music, much music basically. So. Yeah. You know, there was a heavy metal programming on Much Music, and David Draymond was.
Oh, so it's kind of like TRL we had with TRL.
Something along. Okay. And and anyway, I don't know if anyone else has any other stories of.
I'll tell you, my Disturbed is actually interesting. So, I kind of found them the same way you did, Jamie. I just kind of stumbled across them, but. The thing with me and David Draymond is we both happen to be Jewish, so I have that like special like religious connection to him. And I didn't find this out until I want to say a year ago when I watched an interview, and I was like, "Well, that's cool." And I've always enjoyed his voice, just in general. So Disturbed has always been one of those, kind of like Papa Roach is one of those, nostalgic relaxation type bands for me.
Yeah.
They're definitely getting into that legacy, right? They've been around for 25 years sort of thing. So they're getting into that, like kind of, legacy. They have a brand. Like they're not just a band; they're a brand now, essentially.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, like first hearing Disturb, I remember whenever The Sickness came out, and like I remember hearing like all the jocks and all the preps, and like I was in like 7th grade when The Sickness came out, and like everybody had those, like I never had them, but like a lot of them had those like Now CDs that have like all the popular songs from that era and stuff like that. You know what I'm talking about, guys?
Mhm.
And everybody, like, I remember everybody was like making a big fuss about, The Sickness. Everybody's like, they've never heard anything just like it. The wah,
Yeah.
It's funny about that. It's funny about that noise. I don't know if you guys know this. The reason he can do it is because he had a sinus surgery, and after his sinus surgery, he did that by accident. But because of the sinus surgery, is why he can do that.
Cool.
I thought it was
I was watching the interview and he explained it. I thought it was interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah. And I remember people just like making a big buzz about, that sound. And then at the end of the song, when he's like, "No, mommy," everybody was like, "What the fuck is this?" Everybody was like freaking out and thought it was like,
I'll be right back, guys.
Disturbed. People thought it was messed up at the time. And it kind of triggered, and like, I just kind of got into them because like I heard that song like everywhere I went for a while. And then I had to just kind of get that CD. I was like, man, I need to get the full length and hear what the rest of it sounds like.
Yeah, it's hard to think of outside of metal how big that song was. I don't know because I was kind of in the metal world, in the rock world. So for me, for sure it was huge. But outside of the rock world, I don't know how big was it. It must have been pretty huge in general. But
yeah, because that like The Sickness was on like Now Hits and on a lot of other CDs that were like more towards like the public. It got a lot of buzz. It got like it really, and then that Disturbed DVD that came out like a year later. I remember getting that. And stuff like that, and it talked about the making of The Sickness and how David Draymond came in like wearing a Hawaiian shirt and short shorts and sandals when he came in the interview or the tryout for the band, and like even Buzz and Dan and all of them were like, "What the hell is this guy?" They thought he was gonna break out, and like that was their first song, "Breaking Plates," which is a personal favorite, one of my favorites. They like had him come out and just try out that song, and they didn't think he was going to do that good, but he blew them away. And the first song was "Broken Plates." The rest is history.
And there hasn't been and never will be another voice like his, not that I've witnessed.
Now
Over on
if
Ron
you
and
listen
James
to
Dio.
David Draymond when he produces albums, like he produced "Vengeance Falls" by Trivium, you can tell he did have a hand on,
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, I knew about it.
That's cool. And I'm a big Trivium fan too. I didn't know that. That's
But yeah, that's why on that album, especially the first half of that album, Matt has that kind of David Draymond kind of sound in his voice.
people have said that. I love Vengeance Falls, like Trivium Vengeance Falls. I love that album, and I don't hear Disturbed in it, but I just hear like it's good production and all that kind of stuff, and it's kind of just Trivium, and I don't really put that Disturbed Trivium like. I don't think they're trying.
I hear like way too much, especially during like Strife, the title track, and like the first half. If you listen to the timing of it, you can hear where David Draymond put his fingers at.
Right.
Yeah, some of those early songs on Vengeance Falls are fucking fantastic. At least for me.
I mean, they're not bad songs by any means, but you can tell where David Draymond put his finger down and was like, "Hey, do it like this." And you can hear it in Matt's voice too.
Oh, it was funny because
Yeah.
I actually I expected to kind of finish the show or conversation with that, but it's funny we kind of started the topic with David Draymond and side stuff that he was doing, and I had grabbed some side project stuff that the bands were doing, and maybe we'll just touch on that now since we're kind of just touching on that now. But obviously he did that device project, right?
Yeah.
I thought I'd show that, right? So
I don't get it. I don't get it because I'm like, it just sounds like Disturbed.
So here was my
Well, you clearly, it sounds so much like Disturbed. It's just like Disturbed with industrial metal sound.
Here was my only issue with
It's
Device.
like a modern day Disturbed.
When Device came out, they had taken a hiatus, and they were like, we're going to take a hiatus because we've done everything we feel like we can do musically. And then 6 months later, he released Device, which tells me that there were things he wanted to do that the band didn't want to do, so he did it separately.
Yeah.
And then, speaking of like side bands, does anybody like Dan Donegan's side band Fight or Flight that he did with the singer of Evans Blue?
I don't know that one.
Yeah, no.
It's funny, I've heard of that band, and I think I have one of their albums on my computer, but I had no idea the connection.
Yeah. Dan Donegan.
He and Mike, I think Mike was in the band too, in that band. Mike, running with the drummer, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Mike and Dan from Disturbed, and then it was what's his name? I forget. Actually, his name's Dan too, the singer of Evans Blue.
Wow.
And then I was gonna show this as well, and then we'll get going on this ranking here. Is the bassist in Disturbed also was he did a little art, he was in Art of Anarchy. For a little bit with the with Scott Stapp and Scott Weiland.
Interesting.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it'll show on the camera John Moyer here, but no, not really. Anyway,
I can kind of see.
The bassist had time to be in this little project, Art of Anarchy, had a couple things. But anyway, let's keep going on the Disturbed ranking. Maybe I'll just go first, and we'll start at the bottom. And I don't have any. There isn't any Disturbed albums I don't like, so it's not like me showing the last. Like, oh, this is the worst album. This one sucks. It's not that. Although it's last for a reason, but anyway, I don't know if everyone's good, but I have Evolution here as last.
Yeah.
Is it Evolution or Re-Evolution? I think it's just Evolution is last. Got the little hype stick around there. Are You Ready? And A Reason to Fight. But, there is a bunch of softer songs. They had that big hit on the previous album, Sound of Silence, and I think that just Ching was rolling in, and they're like, oh man, if we could just have a couple more of those hits, man. We could just have a couple more of those, we'd be set for life. So when they hit up Evolution, they tried for a couple more of those songs, but Disturbed always does have bangers on their albums, regardless of them stepping maybe in a different direction. But there is still some bangers on this album, so I do like this album. Obviously, Are You Ready is great. And track number 2 is incredible, No More. And I'm going to skip over a bunch of the album. There is obviously there's good songs. There might be a skipper here and there, great song. But I really want to go to probably my favorite song on the album. The best ones lie near the back there. So that's a great track. And yeah, in general, it's a decent album. It's not bad. There's a couple skippers here and there where they've gone a little soft and tried to get some hits that I kind of gloss over. But in general, it's an okay album. It's not bad, but it's definitely secured last place for me.
Yeah, same for me.
I mean, my favorite one is already gone.
Hey, what up, Ben?
What's up, Ben?
What up, Ben?
Yeah, I agree with you, Jamie. Evolution is definitely, I think it was one of their weaker albums that they've done. But still a solid album overall.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really send it off to anyone else. I was just like, oh, maybe there's someone else chime in. But yeah, I don't know whether, like, Clint, if you want to go next.
I mean, you pretty much said the same thing I was gonna say. You know, Evolutions was definitely. They did sound like they were getting a little bit of success from Sound of Silence, and that kind of did pay a tribute of them kind of softening down and watering things down. Like even lyrically, that album was a little watered down.
Okay.
I mean, y'all know me. I love lyrics. Lyrics are my lyrics and vocals are my kind of go-to. And I'm used to having like Dan Donegan's even guitar playing didn't really pop on that album. You know, when you hear Dan Donegan, he has a very distinct tone when he plays guitar. You know that's Disturbed even before David's vocals come in because of his guitar playing. And it just sounded like, it was watered down. And I mean, like lyrically, it just sounded like they just kind of wanted to rush something out because the Sound of Silence did so well for them. And then, like, they kind of, like, when I first heard they were coming back, after the previous album, when I heard Evolution, when I heard the name, I was like, okay, maybe they're going to evolve a little bit, and then I kind of was like, man, no. I was really disappointed, and that's why I've only listened to it once. I was going to go back and listen to it again, and I'm just like, man, really not my cup of tea on that album. It's sad.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth more than a listen, though. Like, there's some bangers on there. Like, they always come hard with some bangers, so it's not like it's completely lost or something.
Yeah, I kind of agree that it's my last as well. I just, as soon as I heard "Are You Ready," I was just like, no, I'm not interested in this. This was just like, it just felt like a watered down rock hit. I was just like, no, I'm not. This is one of only 2 albums from them I do not own, and this one is between this and Believe. I haven't freaking put this one. This one's pretty unanimous that this one's for me at least last.
Oh yeah, that's fair. And then we'll go cut back to Wyatt there.
All right, I got the same one.
Evolution Lab.
Just because it's not really the Disturbed I know from the Sickness and like 10,000 Fists with all the like crazy vocals he does with it. But yeah, overall it's not bad. It's just not really good either.
Yeah.
Kind of much longer.
I mean, the only song I like is Already Gone. I mean, and that's okay. It's not really heavy. So, yeah, that's mine.
Well, we're all on the same page so far with our last pick. Barry, you want to keep the train going?
So my bottom, it's kind of funny, and it's the bottom because it's kind of ironic because my bottom is The Lost Children, and the reason it's the bottom is because I forgot it existed. So it's kind of the lost album.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So it's exactly.
I forgot about that. I would definitely count that, but I'm like,
I listened to it again yesterday. It's actually very good, but I forgot it existed, which is why it's at my bottom.
Right. If anyone is watching, after the fact, maybe not live, but after the fact, it's just on YouTube, or whatever. But if anyone is familiar, Disturbed did put out like a B-side album, a bunch of B-sides and bonus tracks.
It was just
put it on this lot.
It was just after Asylum.
Yeah, it was almost a year, almost exactly.
2011.
Yeah, it was very short, and it was an album I forgot about, and I was listening to it yesterday, and I was like, oh yeah, which is why it's at my bottom because it was kind of lost per se.
Yeah, that's definitely fair, and that's a good point. You did bring that up to touch on that. We did touch on that B-side album and things like that, but I'm not sure if anyone else has included that in their studio album, so you might be one ahead. So if you want to actually go ahead with your next pick there, your actual kind of Next
So
one,
my next
besides that,
Yeah, the legitimate studio albums.
would be 10,000 Fist.
Wow.
Whoa.
Really?
Wow, that's, oh my.
And
So
it,
that's right at the bottom.
Really?
That's right at the bottom.
it was hard because I had it higher up. Like I said, Jamie, I had to move some shit around.
Yeah.
It was hard. It was a hard decision. A very, very hard decision. But 10,000 Fist, yeah.
Wow. Okay, I definitely wasn't expecting that. So that's like your bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh, that is-
Let's make sure you're not starting at the very top. Like this is your bottom.
Yeah, I'm not far right now.
All right. Ryan, I don't know if you already did give your pick. Did you already give your bottom pick? You kind of chimed in with Evolution.
What's that?
Ryan, you did mention Evolution was your last pick, I believe. I just want to make sure we're not skipping over him. Oh, anyway, Ryan's gone. Anyway, we'll skip over Ryan. I think he was on mute or something. But anyway,
I already said Evolution is last for
he's
me.
on Evolution. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I thought he said Evolution, so that's fine. All right, so
Yeah.
Dave, what is your bottom pick?
My bottom?
Yeah, you're very low.
Yeah, we already talked about it.
Evolution, you're on
Yeah.
Evolution too.
Yeah, that's my bottom. That's definitely their weakest album by far.
Well, we all agreed except for Barry. So that was
My bad.
that was an interesting round. I don't expect anything else to be the same, so we might have all gotten lucky on that one. And next for me is this album. Actually, I actually wanted to get it better, even though when I was revisiting it today, I even found a couple of songs that I originally skipped over. And I was like, hey, this song's actually good. I'm actually consider this a good song now, as before I thought it sucked. I'm actually talking about track number 9, Save Our Last Goodbye. I looked on my iTunes and I've never played that song. I'm like, okay, that must be a song I skip over every time. And then I actually listened to it. I'm like, hey, this song's actually good. Why was I skipping over this song? What the fuck? So I actually found a good Disturbed song today that I normally would have skipped over or whatever. But yeah, Save Our Last Goodbye. That's a good song. But anyway, number next for me is Immortalized. And yeah, this album actually is good. I would have liked to have gotten higher, but the rest of the Disturbed albums are pretty consistent and strong for me. I'll save that for later. But next, yeah, we go for Immortalized. Make sure I have that right. And yeah, there's a bunch of bangers on here, like Disturbed is known for. I got that big Kevin Turco production. You know, the big dynamic, the big drum beat, the big arena, everything. Everything's big and sonic and dynamic. Like when you hear it, everything's just perfectly surround sound, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, a bunch of bangers. I'm not going to really rip through the track list, but even something like this, the last 2 tracks might be one of my more favorite tracks on the album, which is the sign of a really strong album where your last 2 tracks are actually really great. So, you know, you can tell they put together a pretty solid album when you close with 2 great songs. Never Wrong is great, and Who Taught You How to Hate. And before I send it off to anyone else and before we start going all over the places, I did want to mention they did put out a deluxe album of this with some bonus tracks, and the bonus tracks are really great. I don't have the bonus track edition, so I can't remember. There was Tyrant bonus track. Do you have it? Oh, great. So maybe we'll save that and I'll when we get to you. But there was Tyrant and there was another bonus track. There was great bonus tracks on that. So I did want to mention that in case I get lost in the conversation later. But yeah, Immortalized for me. So we'll send it off to Clint.
Immortalized is the same thing with me. You said pretty much everything I would say. I mean, like, the Sound of Silence cover's good. It just was overplayed, so I kind of skipped that song. And the rest of that album, I kind of dropped off of Disturbed by the time that album came. I bought it, about a month after it came out. I wasn't in any rush to get it, but I kind of, dropped from Disturbed for a little while when that album came because it was such a long in between. And so I just was like, I just really haven't listened to it all that much. It might be higher if I listen to it more, but as of right now, it's in the same spot. And that's short and simple.
Mm.
Oh, cool. Yeah, man. Maybe we'll just keep it rolling along. We'll send it off to Wyatt next.
Yeah, so this might shock you a little, but I have this.
Indestructible.
Indestructible.
Yeah, but it's a lot better than Evolution. My favorite ones are probably the title track, Deceiver of the Night, Haunted, The Curse, and Torn. Just it's heavy, and that's all I care about is heaviness in my music. And yeah, so Indestructible.
That album does seem kind of up and down. Like it's very wavy. That album, like, yeah. I'll try not to say too much because I'm going to eventually have to talk about my pick. But that album is kind of like it's very good and consistent. It's kind of wavy. Like there's bangers, but then the more mid-paced songs are actually good. So overall, it's a good album. I'm not going to cut on. I'm still going to have to talk about it on mine. But yeah, that's a good pick, definitely. Obviously, you. Yeah. And then we'll go next with Barry.
My next one is Asylum.
Asylum, wow. Okay. Didn't connect with it, or yeah, just that's it.
like I said, this was very difficult because all of my Disturbed are kind of on the same level except for my top two. So I had a hard time kind of putting them in order in that aspect.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of where it landed.
Well, yeah, that was a shocker for me because I really love Asylum. I could probably just look at the back of the track list of Asylum and be like, the whole album's a banger. So I love Asylum. I'm not going to try to give it away too much and where it's going to fall for me, but I love Asylum, so I'm a little shocked by that. But that's fine. Maybe you need to give it more time. No, I'm just kidding. That's fine. Ryan, you got what is your next pick here?
This one's probably the only reason I have this so low on my list is because it's the highest of the two I do not own, but my number 6 is Believe. And then the only reason I have it that low is I know some people say it might be good. I know it's probably at least better than Evolution. But the only reason it's that low is I don't own it at the moment. I want to try and get it at some point. So maybe at some point I might do a future video where it might be higher. But at the moment, it's my number 6.
Believe is so good. Anyways, I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, Believe is a really nice, consistent album all the way through. And I'll try not to touch too much on it, give anything away. But, yeah, Dave, your next pick?
Yeah, my next one here was already mentioned, Immortalized.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, you're right on par with me then, and you and Quint with that one, yeah.
I'm the kind of same way with you, Barry. I have like my top 2 albums, and apart from
great album cover, though. I like seeing your vinyl. The vinyl looks great on camera. It's fucking great. It's a cool album cover. It's a great, cool album art.
Nice. Wait, Dave, does yours have the bonus tracks on it?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, I guess that's a CD-only thing.
Yeah, isn't that stupid? It's like the vinyl is so expensive. Why wouldn't they throw every bonus track, every B-side on it?
Exactly!
I
guess for space purposes, I guess. Actually.
Yeah, but like I was saying, I agree with you, Barry. Well, kind of like you, I have a top 2 favorite albums. Evolution was obviously the weakest, and the other albums I kind of placed them all in the same level, to be honest with it. But
yeah,
I definitely have my top 2, my 2 favorite. Well, we'll eventually get to those.
I know we're back on Immortalized here, and I guess what I didn't say on mine is with Immortalized, like it starts off really strong, it ends really strong. It's that middle section you got to grow into. Like there's some songs like you may not like. There's some songs like even for me today, I was listening to that middle section of the album, and I was like, hey, there's some songs I got to grow into. There's actually some good stuff in here, but it starts off great, it ends off strong. It's just the middle section you got to grow into a little bit. But that's enough with that. We're back with me with, actually, I don't want to skip it over because I I don't own the next one, so I'm gonna need someone else's copy. But anyway, I believe my next one. I don't want to screw it up, but yeah, my next one is. Actually, no. Yeah, my next one is Believe. I'm gonna do Believe next.
Yeah, I would show, but I don't have that. Like I said.
So yeah, Believe's next for me, and I did briefly say for a second there that it's really consistent. It's good album. It's all the way good all the way through. I don't think there's any like slow like ballads that they're doing like Sounds of Silence later on in their career. This is like rock all the way through. But the only reason I'm downgrading this kind of lower for me is some of the oomph seems a little gone on a lot of the songs. Like this would have been their second album, and that first album, David Draymond gave everything he had emotionally. Like he was yelling, screaming, you know, like he was digging deep in his emotions. He gave everything he could on that first album. So I think on the second album, they were a little more. He was a little more chill, like relaxed, because he just gave everything on that first album. So for me, it's just a little bit more. There's less oomph. Like it's a great album, consistent all the way through. There's just a little less oomph to it, and that's why I've downgraded it, and that's why I have everything after it. Essentially, it is great all the way around, though. It is great. It's just missing a bit extra jump to it. Anyway, Clint, you're next.
I'd have to say Indestructible is my next. You know, it's like you said, it's kind of like a roller coaster ride. You know, it's wavy. I mean, it has its good songs, but just nothing that really standed out. You know, a lot of people I know love that album. You know, my best friend, that's his favorite album of anything, you know. And he might shank me later for putting it, you know. But, you know, just nothing really standed out to me. You know, it was just, to me at the time when it came out, it was just another Disturbed album. It just didn't, you know, it didn't appeal to me. It's good. There's like, you know, like there's a lot of good tracks. It didn't have, you know, how you were saying the you know, like Believe, you know, it just, that's how I felt about Indestructible to me. Just didn't have the, you know, it sounded like they kind of got comfortable where they were at musically, and it just didn't stand out to me that much, you know, musically or vocally. All right.
No, that's fair. I'll have slightly different things to say about Indestructible, just slightly, but yeah, that's that. But Wyatt, you're back, and you're back for your next pick.
Yeah, so what number are you on? 3?
5.
Sorry?
You're number 5 now, Wyatt.
I think so.
Number 5?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
Are we?
yeah, so that's...
Yeah.
Believe, just because I'm pretty bored with it. Yeah. I mean, Prayer and Liberator probably my favorite, but that's about it. It's not my favorite.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
I know it's funny. It's even for me, it's kind of weird actually owning the copy, because it's funny when this first came out. I had a friend loaned me his copy, and I burnt a copy, and I had a burnt copy of this for 20 years that I was using. And all of a sudden, just these last couple of years with COVID, I was all sitting around. I'd find the time to buy all these cheap holes, fillers, gap fillers. But anyway, it's kind of cool to actually own it. It's weird because I had a burnt copy of that for 20 years. But
Dang.
yeah, cool. Right on. Barry, you're up next.
I'm with Clint on this one with Indestructible. That's my next one. Indestructible.
Yeah, that's a good solid pick. We're right in here in the middle, so that's obviously you wouldn't call that a bad album or nothing, would you? No.
No, it's not. No, it's actually a very good album. But like I said, aside from my top two, I had a very hard time doing this list. So I just kind of had to place it. And I'm gonna be honest. I actually forgot to put it on my list. So when you guys brought it up, I was like, "Crap, let me place it somewhere."
It's one of the actually more oft-forgotten and disturbed albums for me for whatever reason, because I never actually owned it when I was growing up. I always had just like a digital copy or whatever. So even now, I actually don't own it, and you guys will probably see on my next pick here what's going on with that. But anyway, Ryan, you're up next.
All right, finally I can get into albums I actually own. My number 5 is Asylum. I thought it was a pretty good follow-up from Indestructible, which I absolutely love. That should probably be a spoiler to where it'll be. But I thought there's some stuff I like on here. I like Warrior. I like, what was another single? Another Way to Die. I thought that was a really good song, but I thought it was, overall, I thought this was a pretty good follow-up. The only thing I have, apologies for the bed, but I only have just the CD. I don't have the case anymore. But I think mine was the deluxe version, and it was the one cool packaging for it on the CD and stuff. It was like, it kind of had like, there was those metal doors, and then the face of the guy on there was behind a window part. But that's the one that I had, but I don't have that. I just have the CD now. But yeah, that is my number 5. I thought good follow-up.
Definitely, I agree. All right, and Dave, you're up next.
I agree with you, Ryan. My number 5 is Asylum.
Ah, sweet.
Yeah. Again, overall, it's a really good album. He's like I said, anything from like apart from my top 2 and Evolution, all those other ones, they all kind of rank the same. So yeah, it's a good album.
So I guess we're going to take a little commercial break, not an actual commercial break, just a joking commercial break here for a second. But I wanted to mention a couple things here. So Dave, it's funny that we're both wearing Megadeth shirts.
Everybody, except me are wearing Megadeth. Why, dude?
We're all wearing Megadeth shirts here, so...
not me, though. Although I wish I had a freaking Megadeth patch on my thing right now, but I don't.
Maybe we're like,
if I wanted to.
The new album came out, and we're like, hey, we're repping Megadeth here. I don't know what's going on with that. And if anyone does wind up watching the show later on in YouTube land, whatever, a year down the road, is somebody might see Dave and be like, hey, he's totally an unsuspecting Disturbed fan. Who the hell thought he's a Disturbed fan, right? And I actually thought the same thing too. So the reason I know Dave is from like Facebook groups and things like that. We posted a lot of 80s groups. So I kind of knew as an 80s guy, you know, into 80s metal and things like that. So I would have never suspected him to be a Disturbed fan at all. I would never guessed. So anyway, a couple months goes by or whatever at some point, and he was taking pictures of some of his collection and things like that, and he took a picture of his Disturbed collection and posted it, and I'm like, you like Disturbed? You have all the Disturbed albums? What the hell? This whole time, for months and months, I would have never suspected that, eh? So I just wanted to tell that little story there.
I have quite the collection, as you know, Jamie.
So yeah, I don't know if you got a story of like how you even got into Disturbed, or how they became on your radar, or like you were just like exploring new music, or
no. I've been a fan of Disturbed since the Sickness came out, so 2000, around there, and before then, like I've always been like an 80s metal guy. I was big into. During the 90s, I was big into thrash and European, like black metal and melodic death.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then when the new metal scene kind of came on, I actually started with Korn. Korn was the first kind of new metal band that I got into. Yeah, and Korn, System of a Down. When Disturbed came out, I loved them guys. I went through a huge new metal phase. Actually, it's kind of funny. Long story, but I'll make it short. Before I was into vinyl, I was huge into CDs. I had a shit ton of like death, black, melodic death metal, 80s metal, all on CD. I started with new metal, and I went through a new metal phase, and I was like, I don't really like death and thrash metal anymore. And I sold my entire collection, and I started collecting just new metal. So I went kind of through a new metal phase for like,
Wow.
I say a good 5 or 6 years. I was in a new metal phase, and then one day I was just like, you know what? I kind of missed my old stuff that I listened to, and started collecting all the stuff back, and I kind of got out of the new metal stuff, except select bands. Like Disturbed is one of them. I've always been a fan of them. I still have Korn, System of a Down, Seether, stuff like that. I don't listen to a huge amount of. I don't have a huge collection of new metal, but I kept the good stuff that I like. So.
Yeah, I wanted to point out, since y'all never got to talk about it, but my introduction to Disturbed was a little bit later on. I think I just discovered them. I think what was it, the Indestructible music video, and I was hooked immediately. Hearing that was just like, fuck that. So this might have been when it just came out, like 2008. So I was just getting into them. I think my dad was even into them. I think he had some of their other stuff later on. I found out he had them, and I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
So I've just been a fan of them since Indestructible.
Okay. I thought maybe it was just last year, Ryan.
No, I've been a fan of Disturbed for a while.
All right. I wanted to say something real quick about y'all wearing Megadeth. Dave Mustaine, if you somehow watch this, you can go contact Jamie and sponsor this video. Hey, Dave, we're supporting you. I got the new album behind me. So support this video and contact Jamie and be a sponsor, Megadeth. You hear that?
My copy's coming Wednesday.
I appreciate Dave. He came to our kind of, well, not locally, but he performed a concert nearby. I was appreciative. I'm happy. Actually, you know what? I was going to say he probably wasn't happy, but he actually was happy because he performed near like Penticton, Kelowna area, and they have great wine and orchards, and he loves all that stuff. So I'm sure he had a good time. So, but anyway, so yeah, we cycle back around to that story and all that. But I always knew in the back of my head that if we were ever to do a Disturbed show, I had a guy because he showed me he had the whole Disturbed discography on vinyl. I was like, holy crap, Dave, you have all the Disturbed collection. If I ever do Disturbed ranking for the channel, I know who to ask. And here we are. So we're doing it. So I believe I'm up next. And actually, here's the one I don't own. And I'm putting Indestructible. My next album is Indestructible. I'm putting Indestructible over Believe. I had a tough time with that one, but I'm putting Indestructible next because Believe might be better overall. I don't know if that even makes sense. It might be more like consistent. Believe might be more consistent, but Indestructible just has more oomph. It sounds like they're a little bit more heavy metal again, a little bit more aggressive, just a little bit more oomph to the song, while Believe is a little bit more chill. Indestructible, like the bangers hit hard, and there's just a little bit more energy. It seems like there's more energy in Indestructible overall, so that's why I have Indestructible slightly over Believe. Those two were actually really tough for me, and my next three were pretty well. I had kind of those kind of planned out, and it was kind of Believe and Indestructible for me are kind of interchangeable. A month down the road, I could easily swap these two picks, Indestructible and Believe. It was just kind of as I was listening to them today, Believe just seemed to be a little bit more chill, and it's great all the way through. Indestructible kind of maybe has a couple more skippers in it, but the songs just hit a little bit more harder. They hit a little bit more. So that's kind of where I am with Indestructible. But it was funny because Clint was saying that Indestructible didn't have any oomph to it, and I'm here saying it did have oomph to it. So that's what I was saying. I was like, I might have a little bit different to say about Indestructible than you, but not too much. Like, there's a few skippers, and it does seem to be kind of wavy and all over the place. But that's the energy that they're putting into is just slightly edging it over for Believe for me, but again, not by much at all. But that's where I am for that. And Clint, you want to go up next?
My next one has to be Asylum / The Lost Children. I kind of put them in the same, category.
Sure.
And like I like Asylum a lot. There is some standout tracks, but man, I slightly have to give Lost Children a boost. Like it sounds like those were like better songs
Wow.
than me. Lost Children, I love the song Hell. I kind of put them in the same. Like we're getting to the area of the review where they all kind of really do all rank the same, but we had to do them for the ranking. But my number one has.
What do you mean? Like you starting to like all everything from here on now? You like it all kind of just evenly, or?
Pretty much, besides the first one. Besides number one, you'll hear me. Besides number one. Number one, I hold a special place. Like I was just gonna say, Asylum. I kind of was like I said, earlier, I was kind of like fading out from Disturbed. I was just kind of like getting like by the time that album came out, I was more into like I was getting into metalcore at that time, and it kind of like that kind of took over my stuff, my mind, and like kind of getting into more different things, and kind of more like I was kind of more interested in a lot of other things by the time that album came out. Other things that really piqued my interest a little bit more, but overall, Asylum and The Lost Children are great albums.
Yeah, that's definitely fair, obviously. Yeah, cool. We'll roll right along. Wyatt, you're up next. Yeah.
Okay, so the next album was the one I told you about, Jamie. I don't really have. I've heard it, but I've heard some songs off it, but not all of it. And that's Asylum. I think I've told you.
Asylum, yeah.
Yeah, that one. It's just.
You're on point with mostly everyone else's picks. I think everyone else has mostly picked Asylum for now. I think. Anyway.
Yeah, but it's just. It's dark and heavy and. Like all the stuff I think a Disturbed does.
Yeah, I love Asylum. I think everyone said Asylum. I think everyone said Asylum so far.
Yeah, I've said Asylum at 5 for me.
Yeah.
I think everybody said Asylum except for me.
Yeah. So. And sorry, Barry, I kind of forgot to say one thing I wanted to say. If it's okay, or Wyatt, I'm sorry if I'm distracting. You mind if I say something real quick?
No, keep going, yeah.
Asylum actually kind of influenced me a little bit too, on lyrically, because I never really thought of that, and it actually influenced one of my lyrics. Like the title track Asylum, whenever I watched the interview with David Draymond, Asylum actually, means a safe place for a pure. If you're looking in the dictionary, it means a safe place. And, when you think of asylums, that's where crazy people go. If you kind of look at it, it's a double-sided coin, which later on, it kind of like almost before, Monsters Made Me became my old band's name, Angel Asylum was almost my band's name, and that was influenced by Disturbed, like the double-sided coin of an asylum being a safe place, or the crazy. What's the thing that people think is safe? It's an angel. What's a place where you get crazy is an asylum?
That would have been a sick-ass band name, seriously.
Do what?
That would have been a sick-ass band name.
Yeah. Angel Asylum was almost my band's name, and ended up becoming a song. But yeah, I still have that as, I still have the lyrics I wrote for that. it was one of my band's biggest songs. A lot of people requested that song a lot. You know, the chorus of that song is "I've severed my wings and accepted the straitjacket. I've severed my ties like I've severed my will. Insanity is my only friend. Embrace the dark and the light. We are all blinded by fate." Is the chorus, you know? And it kind of represented like Disturbed that, Asylum did kind of like influence the premise of that coming together. Just a fun little fact about me. Sorry, guys.
It's okay.
Hey, well, it inspired you to, kind of get writing, to even just write something. That's great, right? So Wyatt did make his pick, and so we'll move along with Barry.
My next is Immortalized.
Oh, wow. I think you probably had that the highest of everyone so far.
So the reason it's Immortalized, let me tell you why.
It is a good album.
Immortalized is, if I remember correctly, is the album that Sound of Silence is on, and I really like their rendition of the song.
Yeah, they slowed it down.
So that's why I put it up so high.
Yeah, it's like, Sound of Silence. I may not want to hear it every time. Occasionally I do want to hear it, and obviously it is a good song.
I actually bumped it down. I had it at number 3. You guys are going to hate my top 3. You guys are going to hate it.
Yeah, y'all might hate it when we get to my number 4.
I'm glad you have Immortalized so high, because I would have liked to have gotten higher, because I think the album's actually better than I even thought
So
it was.
I actually bumped down Immortalized. It was my number 3, and I bumped it down.
Yeah, it's good. You're shaking it up, throwing something different out there. But Immortalized is good. Like, even when I was revisiting it today, I was like, hey, there's even some songs on here that are better than I thought. But anyway, Ryan, you'd be up next.
Y'all gonna hate me for this. My number 4 is their debut.
Really?
Sickness.
Whoa.
Yep.
Wow.
I'll also say I like Stupefy. I like the title track, but it's just I'm not really that much into the debut.
Okay.
For me, outside of those songs, I really love those songs, but it's like that's just one of those I do not really care for.
Let me ask, how young are you?
I am 31, about to be 32 here in a couple of weeks.
Okay, so that could be a little bit of why.
Yeah,
I'm probably.
I got into it later, but like I said, I like those songs a lot. But yeah, I got into it later on.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understandable.
As great as the debut is, it was a different sound. They changed their sound a little bit with Believe and continue on with their other albums. Right? The debut was more raw sounding, right? Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? So, but maybe that was it. I don't know. Who knows?
So it sounds like Ryan's done. So Dave, you're up next.
Right on. My next album is 10,000 Fists.
Oh, awesome.
Very cool.
All the Disturbed children, or what? Do they have all the lost children?
Yeah, it's a strong album, right? This is like around the middle of the pack for me. Where kind of there's middle albums that I rank them all the same. So, some of my top tracks on here is Guarded and Deified. Those 2 tracks, I just love those. Stricken's awesome. Yeah, good album. Strong album overall.
Yeah, this is a very strong one.
Yeah.
I think this would end up being pretty high for everyone, although, I can't even remember at this point. But, that's actually, even though, so I guess we'd be starting a new round, but it's not be up next. But so this would be top 3, I believe. Top 3. So I'm in my top 3. So I believe we're doing top 3. So my number 3 is 10,000 Fists. Yeah.
Yeah, same for me. Yeah, it's the same for me as well.
Yeah.
Okay,
so, very consistent album all the way through. It's so consistent that it could even be a number one or number two. Like it's that good. I think this is like a classic, like an essential Disturbed album if there was, other than the first one, of course. But I think if there was like an essential Disturbed album, this is probably it. I know Stricken was a huge song for them. I think Stricken was even on a Guitar Hero, if anyone remembers that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But to me, my favorite.
I think Stricken was on Guitar Hero, and then like Guitar Hero wasn't just huge for like rock and metal fans. That went global for everybody. So people who had never heard rock or metal or never heard Disturbed in their life would have heard Stricken and all of a sudden became fan, and all of a sudden became a rock fan, all because of Guitar Hero. So that was just massive for them. On like we couldn't even realize how big that was for them. But yeah, very consistent album, great album. Kind of a very iconic album. I kind of put it on.
Is, yeah. I agree.
You know, you can sing every chorus. You know all the words. You know all the songs. It's kind of like the first Linkin Park album. You put it on, you know every song, you know every chorus, you know every word. It's kind of like that
album.
You know it all.
That album has a Phil Collins cover on it.
Yeah, Land of Confusion.
Yeah.
And it's also the first.
It came out really good. They actually did that song. Came out really good.
That's a good point you bring that up because, yeah, I love that cover. That is a great cover. Every time I hear the original, like say if I'm like in a store and I hear that song, I'm like, I know that song. I'm like,
the only cover that was better than Land of Confusion was Shout.
Shout's great too.
That
Land of Confusion is really great. But yeah, that's a good point. The Disturbed does do great cover songs as well. So yeah, 10,000 Fists is great. So we'll move along with Clint. You're up next.
Yeah, my number 3 too is 10,000 Fists, and everybody chimed in and said pretty much everything I was gonna say. You know, I just remember when that album came out, and like I remember like the nostalgia of like Stricken and everything like coming like that because David Draymond started bringing back like the wacky vocals and really bringing in a little more heat with his aggression. The lyrics were a little more, but I remember when it first came out, and I heard the title track, I was like, what is wrong with this? It sounded like they were trying to go more of a arena rock, you know, I thought. And then I did notice around that time, they were playing huge shows, headlining big festivals and doing a lot when that album dropped. And it was around the time that, you know, it was in the middle of my hype, you know, whenever I was really kind of into them and really thought that album was really incredible. Like I said, you know, the top 3 are just, yeah, that album just was amazing. Like it had a fire in their belly and they really wanted to show it on that album. But the title track's definitely, I think, one of the weakest tracks on there. But the rest of it, I think, followed.
What'd you say, the title track?
I thought the title track was one of the weaker songs on the album, but the rest of it I think was amazing.
Yeah, this is kind of just a very great album.
Yeah.
Very consistent. Yeah. Wyatt, you're up next.
Yeah, I got the same one. 10,000
Oh, wow.
Fists. Yeah, just because of Overburden, that's a killer riff to me.
I know.
There's another one. Yeah, I just like the sound of it. It's
a great album.
It's a lot cleaner than the first 2, I think. Yeah, so that's my number 3.
Awesome. Yeah, we actually all 3 of us have done the same pick so far, so we'll keep seeing if it's the same, although I don't think it's going to be. Barry, you're up next.
You guys are going to hate me so bad.
I knew it.
What are you gonna? What?
So remember I said I bumped down Immortalized? I bumped it down for Evolution. Don't kill me.
What?
So I listened to this album for the first time yesterday. So that could have a little bit to do with it.
It's my boy.
Because it was one of those that I knew was out, but I never listened to it. So I listened to it yesterday. I don't know. It really connected with me. I don't know. I really seem to like it. So I bumped down my Immortalized and put Evolution in 3. I'm sorry.
Wow.
What the fuck is that anyway?
That's Evolution, pretty much.
Yeah, it's funny. I just realized Reprise. Didn't even realize Reprise doesn't even do much metal. It seems like anymore. I don't have much Reprise.
Yeah.
It's not like Reprise. Anyway. Yeah, you're loving the Evolution. Anyway, yeah, I was gonna say like I had it last, but it's not like bad or nothing. And yeah, I love No More and The Best Ones Lie. I love The Best Ones Lie. It's actually probably one of my more favorite Disturbed songs. The Best Ones Lie. But
Savior of Nothing is good too.
Savior of Nothing, yeah. Yeah, Best Ones Lie is great. I love, yeah, No More. A Reason to Fight's awesome. And then, you know, there's some kind of mid-pay stuff in there. But yeah, good pick. Ryan, you're up next.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you, J-Dub, Clinton, White. My number 3 is also 10,000 Fists. It's
cool.
It's one of the first I've listened to all the way through, and there's not even a weak moment on that album. I absolutely love it. I think songs I like on there, I use it Stricken. I like the cover on there. I like that. 10,000 Fists, I absolutely love. There's just not a bad song on that album. I absolutely love 10,000 Fists. So it's my number 3.
Cool.
Strong album, and we're all agreeing. So Dave, you're up next.
Right on. As it was already mentioned, kind of apart from my first 2, those middle pack, I kind of ranked them all the same. So 10,000 Fists is an amazing album. That could have been my 3rd, but I'm going with Indestructible today.
Ooh, nice.
So, yeah, I kind of rank them the same. I just, I think it's a solid album front to back. So there's not really any weak tracks on here. Yeah, that's my number 3rd pick. Indestructible.
Yeah, there's some good punchy songs on that one.
There is, yeah.
Yeah.
Me, number 2. It's weird going into this third. I didn't actually know what my number 2 was. Although once I realized what my number 1 was, I kind of had an idea that Asylum would be my number 2 because it's so strong. I love this album. It hits hard. It has yeah, it just really hits hard. There's looking at the back track list. It's kind of well, obviously the first track's like an intro
the
song.
YouTube cover is pretty good.
And other than that, it just rips right through all the songs, like in a good way. Like it just steamrolls all the way through. Has power all the way through. There's no kind of skippers or much like that. And yeah, I love this album. And I'm just trying to think of the reason why I ranked it over 10,000 Fists is.
I don't know what happened to my sound. I can't hear y'all.
Oh wow.
We could hear you.
All right, he might be back, hopefully.
Oh, I'm gonna have to do my screen question. But I'll have to watch for him to come back. But yeah, the reason I have it over 10,000 Fists is just a little. It's just a little less songs. I guess it's more to the point. It just hits harder, and yeah, just kind of like I don't know. I kind of just like it. It's a little bit more. It kind of just hits a little bit harder in some spots. The bangers are bangers. Obviously, the production, all that kind of stuff, like the sound dynamics. I think that's what it is. It's like, it just sounds like you're listening to his voice and everything in like surround sound, like the way it's like, the way everything is mixed and mastered, right? It's like so perfect and clean, but
He just sounds angry.
they've actually utilized all that technology for like they've actually utilized it for in a good way. They actually haven't like stripped it away and turned. They took it. They haven't like taken its balls away and things like that. Like there's still balls. It's still heavy. The dynamics are just crazy, like very well, and yeah, it still hits hard and all that kind of stuff. So I love Asylum. Did I throw the? What did I do with the album? Oh, I mixed it up with the other one. But anyway, just looking at the back track list, I just love every song. Asylum, The Infection, Warrior, Another Way to Die is a banger. The Animal, Sacrifice, The Innocent. Just incredible album top to bottom. So I love it. And we'll move along to Wyatt, and then I'll see if Clint comes back.
There's Clint.
Yeah, so my number 2 is The Sickness, 10th anniversary.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Oh, wow.
Never seen that. And, wow, that's not your number 1, so definitely surprised to you at number 1.
Yeah, the fucking awesome. It's like got the rant in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My sound kind of cut out.
I have to go, guys. I'm.
Oh, okay, Wyatt.
What was your number 1 then? Oh, he didn't hear me.
Yeah, well.
All right, that would have been his number 2, right? Oh, it's like, oh, damn, if he would have gave his number 1, he would have been complete. Anyway, Barry, I believe we're on number 2.
My number 2 is also The Sickness.
Wow. I going into it, I'm just thinking, like, is everyone going to have Sickness at number 1? But I guess apparently not.
My 2 and my 1, when you guys hear my 1, you're going to kill me. But my 2 and my 1 were very close. And it took me a while to, yeah. But number 2, that's what it is.
Wow. Yeah, because going into it, I was actually kind of thinking, is it going to be unanimous that Sickness is the best, or I guess it's not because kind of two people. Well, Wyatt picked Sickness as his number 2, so that's clearly not his number 1. So you guys
it's not even my number 1. It's barely in the top 10, top 5 for me when it comes to Disturbed, because mine was at number 4.
Wow. Ryan, yeah, you have next.
Yeah, okay. My number 2 is their comeback album, Immortalized.
Nice.
I absolutely, the only reason, and I mean the only reason that I don't have it at number 1 is because I have the regular edition. And if I had the one with the bonus tracks, it would easily be number 1 for me because I love everything, including the bonus tracks. I love everything on Immortalized. I just wish I had the deluxe edition with the bonus tracks because I love the bonus tracks.
Yeah. It was Tyrant, and I'll pull it up on my computer. But it was Tyrant, and what was the other one?
Yeah, both of them were. I think there was 3 or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't.
Tyrant was one of them. I loved them. I love everything on this album.
It was Tyrant, Legion of Monsters, and The Brave and the Bold.
Yeah, I love all of them. Even. Oh my God, those first 2, the bonus tracks. Oh my God, fucking love them. I love everything on here. Even I love the cover, even the Sound of Silence. Love it. I love everything on here. The title track, Vengeful One, Open Your Eyes, The Light. What Are You Waiting For? I fucking love What Are You Waiting For? I love Fire It Up, Sound of Silence. I love everything on this album. I just wish I had the deluxe. I just wish I had the deluxe version. If I had the deluxe version, it would easily be number 1. But I have the regular edition, so it's at number 2 because of that.
Yeah, I cheat, or I have the album, but I have the bonus tracks on my computer. But yeah, it's Tyrant and Tyrant and
Legion of Monsters, and then The Brave and the Bold. I love them. Love them.
Legions of Monsters should have been on, and Tyrant should have been on the album.
All three should have been on the album. It would have been.
So I forget where we were. The screen's all rotated around again. Or no, it did.
Yeah.
Oh no, okay. So we'd be Dave. You'd be up next.
All right, buddy. Yeah, my number 2 is The Sickness.
Wow.
Yeah. See, I'm not the only one.
Yeah, my number 2 is The Sickness. Yeah, obviously it's an iconic album. This was obviously the beginning, and this is where I started with them. Great album, but it's not my favorite. So number 2 is The Sickness is number 2.
Very interesting. Now 4 people have not had that number 1, so that's that was a surprise. So you didn't have any either. Clint, you'll be up next.
Yeah, my number 2 is The Sickness too.
Oh.
4 people. I'm the only one that had it low, pretty much.
It's my number 2. So that tells you, but yeah, I remember when that came out, it was just amazing. Like, everybody I knew was listening to it. Everybody knew The Sickness, just people that didn't even listen to metal knew The Sickness, because, no pun taken, but the disturbed sound that had, like 7th graders. I was in 7th grade when it came out. Middle school, and it was a really good album debut, but it took me a while. Like I said, whenever that album came out, it took me a little while to get into it because that was back when I was in my super death metal phase. Cannibal Corpse, Morbid Angel, 6 Feet Under. That was a little too soft for me, I thought at the moment. But, but it was a great debut. And then I was like, man. And when I first heard, Dropping Plates, The Sickness, Shout, that album was like fire. I used to work on my vocals to shout, I used to work on the timing, the shout. One of my old bands, we almost did a cover of Shout till we found out it was a cover of another song,
One of the most underrated songs on that album, I don't know if you guys agree or not, is Enemy.
Enemy is a good song too.
Because there's that part at the end where he goes where he says enemy really slow and it's quiet and then it gets all loud. You know what part I'm talking about? Toward the end of the song. That song is just that song specifically on that album just hits me.
You love me. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So it would be me. Yeah, number 1. So I'm interested actually to see all your number 1s because my number 1 is just kind of boring because you guys have already all talked about it. But my number 1 is Sickness.
You're the only one that has it at number 1.
Yeah, I'm number 1 is that. This number 1 is weird, but I didn't even need to listen to this today, or I didn't even need to brush up on it. I know it all off by heart. I don't need to listen to it. I already know it's my number 1. I could have put it up for debate with Asylum, but I kind of just knew this is my number 1 just because it's so diverse. It's just kind of just so raw and diverse. They just sound, kind of every song is kind of diverse within the Disturbed sound. Obviously, they sound like Disturbed every song, but every song kind of just has its own unique flair and kind of style. And obviously, David Draymond kind of sets the tone with his flair and antics and his vocal things that he does and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of sets the tone for everything. And something like this is super difficult to top. Although, Asylum is great, and I really love 10,000 Fists as well. So, but I don't know if this could ever be topped for me. But I still loved every other Disturbed album, and I've been following them along every time. And I still even like Evolution. I'm not about to say any album's bad, so I've liked them back then now, and I still like them now, and that's where I am with Disturbed. So, in case we finished it off. So, but anyway, Barry, you'll be up next with your number 1.
I said before, my 1 and my 2 were very difficult. But my number 1, you guys all had very low. My number 1 is Believe.
Believe. Wow. Where is it?
Believe. Oh.
Where's my Believe? Oh, here we go.
So
wow. Yeah. You know,
So-
it is. Yeah, it's
my
great.
opinion on Believe is I think that's where their sound kind of started.
Yep.
And they kind of branched off from that album. So all their future albums after Believe kind of connected to it, which is why it's my number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably the most different out of everybody of what my number 1 is.
Evolution.
So,
No, I had that the last.
Barry, has Believe always been your number 1, or you sway on this quite often, or?
Yeah, it's pretty much always been my number 1 since it came out.
Okay.
The second I heard the song Prayer, I was like, oh, that song's amazing. Because that was the song that was released on the radio, and that was their first single off that album.
Cool.
Well, all right, here we go. And Ryan, you're number 1.
Indestructible.
Wow.
Okay.
That is my number 1. I may not have listened to all of it all the way through, but just from the the first 4 songs alone, the title track, Inside the Fire, Deceiver, The Night, maybe even Perfect Sanity, are enough for me to love this album and have it be my number 1. I absolutely love Indestructible. Yeah, the first one I ever listened to, and it's my number 1 for a reason.
Great album. It is a good album.
Well, we might all end up having different number 1s. So, Dave, you're number 1.
All right, guys. Yeah, Barry, I'm with you, buddy. My number 1 is Believe.
Yeah!
Yeah.
Okay. So kind of a long story short for Believe. Obviously, as I mentioned, I've been a fan since The Sickness came out, since their beginning. The Sickness, when that came out, I love that album. Then Believe came out. And actually, in 2002, when that came out, I'm actually a firefighter. Jamie probably remember that because I told him. And I've been a firefighter for 20 years now. And when I was at the fire academy, this album came out. And one day after class, I went to the local mall and I bought this on CD. And that album, I listened to that album constantly for the 4 months I was at the fire academy.
Oh.
And it resonated with me. After a hard day of class and work, and the burn towers and everything, I'd go to my car, I'd pop that CD in, and I go for a drive, and just relaxed. And so it's a great album. And I agree with Barry. This is where they developed their sound. Definitely their most melodic. I think it's their most melodic album. Like if you listen to like the choruses on this, it's like the choruses are melodic on these tracks compared to like a lot of their other albums, right? So yeah, it's my number 1, and this one will always be my number 1. Yeah, definitely my favorite. Definitely my favorite to Surge, but hands down at all the albums. Yeah, since 2002. So 20 years. 20 years. This has been my number 1 album. Yeah.
Maybe mine will be that. Maybe when I finally listen to that album, that might be high. I wouldn't say it's number 1 because the top 2 will always be Immortalized and Indestructible. But maybe number 3, maybe.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be high.
All right. I guess my turn.
Yeah, there you go. You're last. We're saving the best for last.
Last but not least, it's funny. I really was hoping I was going to be right after Jamie because I thought I was going to be the only one with Believe as number 1.
Wow.
I really thought I was the only one.
Cool that I'm not an outcast. I thought you guys were gonna hate me.
I'm if anything, I'm the outcast with Indestructible being number 1.
I mean, I really thought I was going to be the outsider I've been thinking this the whole time. You know, the whole time.
Wow, yeah.
The
Who
video.
knew?
Oh yeah,
Who would have known?
Believe, like my favorite Disturbed track is on that album, Darkness.
one? What's the
Darkness.
track? Darkness? Yeah, that's a good song.
That song just lyrically, David's voice on that album just creme de la creme.
Like I said, that's the album where Disturbed kind of developed their sound. The sound that they're known for today, that's where that came from, that album.
And like I remember whenever that CD came out, it had one of the coolest deluxe editions ever. It had the CD book, and the logo, the Believe logo was actually metal. It was a metal plate.
I remember that.
I remember that.
And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I wish I still had it. I'm gonna try and find it and rebuy it because, yeah, like that album that was around the time when my mom kind of like was going through, like, you know, I talked about it in previous videos, was kind of going downhill at that time. And that album really spoke to me. It lyrically, you know, like it seemed like David really had a lot more to say lyrically on that album than any of the other ones, even in The Sickness. The Sickness is your typical angry metal album.
Yeah.
Believe, it actually seemed like he really wanted to say some smart things. Yeah. And I still think it's his best lyrics that he's wrote are on Believe. You know, they're heartfelt. There's still some angry stuff in those lyrics, but it seems like it came with the reason that he had more to say, you know, like, and kind of like what their message for that album. It doesn't matter what you believe in, what religion, bring, you know, everybody together, you know, let's unite and make this, you know, better. You
that
know,
album, that album is the exact definition of what metal music is all about.
Brotherhood. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what heavy metal has always been about. And that's just that album. It hits it.
And I remember whenever that picture of David Draymond in the album, you see really close with his LeBrays, you know. And I remember, like, I wanted a LeBray so bad, you know, when I was younger. I finally got one. I swallowed it, but I did have a LeBray for a little while.
He doesn't have them anymore. He took them out.
Yeah, he did take them out. But I was going to eventually get them back, but I'm going to do 3 instead of 2.
Hey, Ryan.
But I used to have one LeBray, but I just, you know, I swallowed the LeBray. Plus, when I started working in the jail, they didn't want us to have them.
Yeah. Ryan, buddy, I seriously think you should give Believe another chance.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we'll give it a chance because, like I said, I've never listened to it.
And
like, never. Not once. Not once. I've never listened to it.
You're missing out, bro. Missing out.
And you know the Believe logo right there. Everybody, you know, like
yeah, that's on. That logo is on the. If you can tell on the fist, it has the Believe symbol on Immortalized.
Yeah, I mean, what I was gonna say about that.
I've never noticed that before.
Yeah, if you look closely enough, you can see the Believe logo on at least one of the knuckles. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was you know, if you know me, you know my leg tattoos. I have kill switch engaged and you know, In Flames tattooed on me. Whenever I was gonna get the Disturbed, Slipknot, and stuff like that. But when I get my Disturbed one, I am gonna get the Believe logo tattooed. You know, I'm gonna get that tattooed eventually one of these days. On how much I love that album.
Yeah. Ryan,
I'm glad I'm not alone. You guys made me feel better. I thought I was going to be the only one.
If Eddie,
Yeah. The best vocals, some of the best vocals are on this album.
Yeah.
Well, like I said,
David Draymond's range on that album. You know, like you never hear anything like Darkness on any of the other albums. I didn't even know he could sing like that, and I thought it was like, wow. Why can they not do anything else like that? I'd love to see it.
Of Disturbed in general started on that album. That's where it started. It started with that album.
It did, yeah. I agree.
Yeah, okay. So if what you're saying is if it wasn't for Believe, my 2 favorites wouldn't be what they are.
Exactly.
Probably not.
Exactly. So you gotta listen to it, man.
Yeah, Believe is where they came with their sound.
Oh yeah.
All right. As soon as this is done, I'll listen to Believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've said this before. Someone was like, "Call me crazy." I don't know why I said this, but I was like, David could have easily been like a power metal singer in like a power metal band, and he could totally pull it off.
And I don't say this.
Power metal. He could do like 80s power metal or like a traditional power metal band, and he could totally pull it off. He has the range. He sounds like a power metal singer. He could
I don't say
totally.
this about a whole lot of albums, but Believe, I would go as far as to say it's perfect. Perfect.
So that's putting it.
Yeah.
That's a little bit difficult to task, especially considering it's from a year where freaking there's several albums that came out in 2002 that I would think would be better than it. 6 Degrees and The Mantle, easily.
I would go as far as to say not only is Believe my top Disturbed album, but I would go as far, and Jamie knows how much I like Papa Roach, okay? I would go as far as to say Believe would be in my top 10, my top 5 favorite of all time. Like, all
Album
time.
out of anything?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
But no.
Like, of all time,
Oh, wow.
Believe would be in my top 5.
It's just too chill for me. Like, it's so good and it's consistent, but
Oh, yeah, that's a Mantle from Agalog. That's what I meant from 2002. I would say that and 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence are at least better than Believe.
Man,
at least if for what you're saying, I would say that's...
Until you listen to Believe, you can't really say that.
Yeah, but it's just like that's just putting it blatantly that you're like, oh, you're asking me to put it in the same discussion with those two. It's impossible.
Well, you got to listen to it first and then get back to
Different
it.
style of music, though, too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely listen to it.
yeah. So I don't know. Maybe we'll all get out of here. But I was going to mention that. Yeah, it's kind of weird to think that Evolution was 2018, and here we are, 2022, and they don't have a new album. No, it's been 4 years already.
I think
Dang.
it'll come out next year.
I gotta assume that some new Disturbed singles are coming out the hash pipe here in the next couple months. I really gotta.
There's already a new single. It's already out on Spotify. There's a new single hit.
Hey, you.
Yeah, it's called Hey You.
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, hey, you.
Pretty good, though.
I was gonna say, I feel like the Disturbed machine is just gonna start rolling here because it's been 3 or 4 years, and they're gonna probably just start getting going here with like a whole new album, singles, all that kind of stuff. So,
Oh, yeah.
so yeah, it's probably good that we did this now before the new album came out, or else we would have had to rank the new album. So it's better to do this before the new album comes out, and then maybe revisit this a couple years later, but sort of thing. But oh, cool, Ben's back with 10,000 is his number 1. We'll put that on the screen there. And who knew metal band like Disturbed? Ha ha ha! Right?
I know he likes Disturbed. Disturbed was one of the few new metal bands that he still like to this day.
He just doesn't like admitting it. All right.
Yeah, he has admitted it to me that he Disturbed is one of those that he still likes to this day.
So that's good that he was checking it out, commenting along. Thanks for him for checking it out. And anyone else got anything to say or anything they hope for? But
yeah, I do. Actually, I'll add just one small little thing. Love Disturbed. Disturbed is one of those bands that I won't get rid of. Like I said, I'm kind of back into my death and thrash metal and a little bit of black metal. Love my 80s metal. I only have like maybe 4 or 5 kind of new metal bands, and Disturbed is one of them. I'll never get rid of them. I'll keep them on my.
Yeah, same here. I think them, Slipknot, Mudvayne for obvious reasons because they're from my hometown of Peoria, Illinois. Those are at least a handful I can think of that would never want to get rid of their albums ever.
I'll follow them likely till the end of their career. I'll likely follow them. Everything they do, likely. I have no reason not to. I could actually foresee them, since Evolution was softer. I have a feeling the next one might be a little bit more heavy. They're probably going to ramp it up a bit in the next
It
one.
is. The track KU is heavier already than anything on that album.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I have a feeling they're going to ramp it up. Typically, bands do that, right? They'll release like a soft album and then they'll release a heavy one. Or, I'd be pretty shocked if they went softer than this. Like if they kept going softer, you might start losing me a bit more. But I'd be surprised if they started going softer than this. I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to come over with a banger.
The next album is going to be heavier.
Right.
And Hey You definitely had kind of like a vibe of Device. It had a Device kind of feel to it.
It does have a little bit of a Device kind of hit with it. Yeah. I'll agree with that.
I can't remember if I
But
played
see, I'm one of those weird people that actually really likes Device. I hear the Disturbed similarity, but you can tell that it's not,
because of
I like the difference.
Yeah, I
just like the Device has like a little bit of a different sound to it. I actually really like that album.
Yeah,
pretty much just a little bit industrial, watered down, Disturbed, essentially. Like
Yeah, pretty much. It's that's the reason I will never get it, because I'm just like, this just sounds so much like Disturbed, just with an industrial sound. If they just had started bringing the guy in for Disturbed stuff like that, it would just sound the same, just with industrial sounds. It's just that's what Device really is. It's just industrial metal Disturbed.
But I wouldn't even say industrial really. Like one or two songs are really industrial. The rest of it's like rock.
Disturbed. Yeah, pretty much Disturbed songs, pretty much.
I like the Opinion song with Tom Morello. I love Tom Morello anytime he guests in his songs. I love that. And Close My Eyes Forever with Izzy Hale's cool. That's a cool song. Vilify and Penance is cool. Yeah, there we are with our Disturbed chat and ranking all the albums. Cool stuff for anyone that does check this out, whether it was live or just recorded and watched it later down the road. Thanks for everyone that does check it out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the guests for coming on the show and giving all your time and effort and energy. Cool stuff. Appreciated. Oh, did Ryan leave or did he just left? Oh, looks like Wyatt's potentially back for the very end.
Yeah, sorry, I had to do something.
Yeah, that's fine. We're just wrapping up the show. I don't know if you're still feeling motivated. I believe you actually didn't show your number one. Do you want to show your number one if you're still motivated for that, or
what?
Your number one. You didn't. What was your number one album? Immortalized. Oh wow. Okay, yeah, because they all had Believe as their number one. Everyone had pretty well Believe as their number one almost.
Didn't Ryan have it lower?
Right, yeah, Ryan had. I think he had Immortalized as number one, and then they all had Believe It or Not. So you had Immortalized. That was interesting. Cool. When he came back, we found out you're number one. In case I was really stressing someone out. What was Wyatt's number one? Damn it. So there we go. We're wrapping up the show. We did get Wyatt's number one, so that was cool to complete that. And there we go. I don't think anyone's got anything else to say, or else we would have already said it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Moss, see you later. And I will say, Wyatt does have a channel, Wyatt's Metal Life. He's the only one here who has a channel, so go check out Wyatt's Metal Life.
I have a Twitch channel.
Oh yeah, right. I guess you do have it's video games though, isn't it? Don't you do the video games and stuff?
Yeah, it's a game channel.
Yeah. Rep your stuff.
It's twitch.tv/Saybot456. I'm actually doing a stream as soon as we're done with this.
Cool.
Okay, cool. What is it? How you spell that?
SAIBOT 456.
Oh, there you go. Well, maybe in a year or so you might get a subscriber or two. From this. And there we go. And there we go. And you can catch me and Dave on the interwebs posting our 80s metal collections and shit like that. Okay, cool. Subscribe, Mosh. See you later. Ciao.
The metal people, and don't forget the mosh.
Yeah, don't forget that too.
Exactly.